beginning of the Cold War in 1947. The Cold War was a period of political and military tension that emerged after World War II. The tension started between the United States and the Soviet Union and lasted for many years. In 1947, U.S. President Harry S. Truman declared the Truman Doctrine. The Truman Doctrine expressed the commitment of the United States to fight against communism during the Cold War. In the same year, the Marshall Plan was also initiated. The Marshall Plan was known as a plan that included financial aids for the reconstruction of Europe after the war. In 1948, the Soviet Union blockaded Berlin. This event is known as the Berlin Blockade, and it prevented access to basic necessities for many people. The U.S. and Western allies initiated the Berlin Airlift Operation in response to the Berlin Blockade. Through this operation, the Western powers supported the people by transporting supplies to Berlin by air. In 1949, NATO North Atlantic Treaty Organization was established. NATO was an alliance of Western democracies formed to create a defense against Soviet attacks. In the same year, the establishment of East Germany was announced. This event led to the division of Germany and created a separation between West Germany and East Germany. The Korean War began in 1950. The war started with the North Korean invasion of South Korea and was intervened by United Nations force. The Warsaw Pact was established in 1955. The Warsaw Pact represented a defense alliance among the Eastern Bloc countries led by the Soviet Union. In 1961, the Berlin Wall was constructed. The Berlin Wall was a barrier aimed at closing the borders between East Germany and West Berlin. This wall prevented East German citizens from escaping to the West and became a symbolic representation of the Cold War. The Cuban Missile Crisis took place in 1962. This crisis began with the placement of Soviet missiles in Cuba and created a major nuclear conflict threat between the United States and the Soviet Union. In 1969, Bernard Baruch presented the Baruch Plan to the United Nations with the aim of preventing the spread of nuclear weapons. The Baruch Plan included measures to achieve international nuclear disarmament. In 1979, after many previous steps that marked a turning point in the Cold War, the multilateral SALT-Roman-II Treaty was signed by the Soviet Union and the United States. The SALT-Roman-II Treaty aimed to limit and reduce nuclear weapons. Towards the end of the 1980s, economic problems and political turmoil in the Soviet Union led to the end of the Cold War. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 became a symbolic event and facilitated the unification of East and West Germany. The Cold War came to a complete end with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. The Cold War is considered as a significant period in world history and had a profound impact on global politics. During the Cold War era, there was an arms race, increased espionage activities, and regional conflicts. The confrontation between the United States and the Soviet Union created a great dilemma in world politics. With the end of the Cold War, many countries gained independence and new balances formed in world politics. Even today, the legacy of the Cold War is still felt in some international relations. The Cold War is an important subject studied and debated by historians. The events of the Cold War period play a significant role in understanding many factors that shape world politics. With the end of the Cold War, the world entered a new era. The Cold War is a significant turning point in history. The events during this period demonstrate the political and ideological competition between the major powers. The effects of the Cold War are still felt in global politics. Tension was a decisive factor in international relations during the Cold War. The Cold War era is a reflection of the conflict between various ideologies. The Cold War witnessed many crises and limited conflicts. The arms race during the Cold War was a major source of concern. With the end of the Cold War, a new balance was established in world politics. The Cold War era is characterized by the division between the Eastern and Western blocs. Proxy wars took place in some regions during the Cold War. The Cold War affected the neutrality of many countries and led to regional conflicts. The Cold War era also provided many opportunities for international agreements and negotiations. The events of the Cold War period had a significant impact on and changed world politics. The Cold War is an important factor in security policies and alliance. During the Cold War era, information warfare and propaganda activities also increased. The tension of the Cold War also led to the space race. The tension during the Cold War also brought the fear of an uncertain nuclear war. The fall of the Berlin Wall at the end of the Cold War became a symbol of peace and freedom. The Cold War still has its impact in many areas of world politics. The Cold War reflects the mutual competition and struggle for hegemony between two superpowers. Numerous espionage activities were carried out during the Cold War era, and intelligence agencies gained great importance. With the end of the Cold War, a search for a new world order has begun.